Have you ever wondered what happens to the souls of animals after their death? Can they come back to support those they loved? Does the soul of an animal continue to live on the other side of our mortal existence? Breaking up with a family friend is a difficult emotional stage in everyone's life. The loss of a pet can leave a deep mark on the soul because it has been associated with years of joy, shared memories, and sincere affection. It is easier to survive a loss if you understand what will happen next to your pet's soul. The question of what happens to the soul of animals after death has been of interest to people since ancient times. This topic touches on philosophy, religion, mysticism, and even modern science. In many cultures, animals have a special place, and the idea that they have a soul raises important questions about the nature of life, death, and the spiritual world. In most world religions, the concept of animal souls is closely related to their role in the universe. In Judaism, the internal energy of an animal and a human are equal, but there is a hierarchy of spirits. After death, lower-level spirits transform into pets and wild animals, and human beings become more highly developed. In Christianity, traditionally, more attention is paid to the human soul, which, according to the teachings, is created in the image and likeness of God and therefore has the ability to consciously save. However, some Christian theologians, such as Saint Francis of Assisi, argued that animals also have a soul, although it is different from a human one. They viewed animals as God's creations, endowed with inner vitality. The idea that animals can find peace in the kingdom of God finds support among many believers. In Eastern religions, such as Buddhism and Hinduism, the concept of soul transmigration assumes that the soul of an animal continues its journey after death. According to karma, the soul can incarnate in both an animal and a human body, depending on one's actions. Animals are considered part of an endless cycle of reincarnation, and their role in it is related to spiritual development. In other words, the animal you love may be the embodied soul of someone close to you. In the Islamic tradition, animals are considered as the creations of Allah, who glorifies them with His existence. Although it is not customary in Islam to talk about animal souls, it is believed that animals will receive justice on the Day of Judgment, and even the slightest injustice to an animal will be taken into account, which hints at their participation in the spiritual plan of the universe. The ancient philosopher Plato believed that all living beings have a soul. He described the soul as the source of life and movement. In his opinion, the animal soul has a simpler structure than the human one, but remains part of the general spiritual world. Aristotle, in turn, divided souls into three types: vegetative, responsible for growth and nutrition; animal, providing movement and feelings; and intelligent, inherent only to humans. Thus, the soul of an animal was considered an intermediary between plants and humans. Modern philosophers tend to view animals as beings with an emotional and spiritual dimension. Modern science studies the consciousness and emotional life of animals, and research shows that many species have complex cognitive abilities, feel pain, joy, and attachment. Thus, there is an opinion that animals still have souls. Esotericism attaches special importance to the souls of animals, claiming that their spiritual essence continues to exist even after death. In various esoteric systems, it is believed that animals, especially those who lived in close contact with humans, can stay close to their master as spiritual guides. For example, in shamanic traditions, the soul of an animal is often perceived as a patron saint or totem. After death, an animal can become a guardian spirit or continue its existence in another world. Shamans claim that the souls of animals can be contacted through special rituals. Some mediums also claim to be able to communicate with the souls of deceased animals. They describe their souls as luminous entities filled with love and gratitude. Such statements resonate with people who have experienced the loss of a pet. One of the most famous researchers on the topic of the existence of life after death was Michael Newton, PhD, and a hypnotherapist. He studied humans and animals equally and came to the following conclusions. The soul of a living being does not go to the angels or to heaven, but mixes with a single stream of the universe. The soul of the animal is inextricably linked with the soul of the owner. In other words, he argues that the disembodied matter of a pet, that is, the soul, is inextricably linked to the person who loves him. Therefore, their continued posthumous existence may be closely intertwined. Many people who have lost pets talk about the mystical phenomena associated with them. They often claim to have felt the presence of a departed pet, heard its footsteps, or even seen it in a dream. These experiences are often perceived as a sign that the soul of the animal remains nearby, continuing to protect and love its owner. In folklore and the history of different cultures, there are examples when the souls of animals return to their owners after death. For example, in the 19th century, there lived an English farmer named George Jefferson, known for his affection for his dog named Grumps. Grumps was Jefferson's faithful companion for many years and accompanied him even in the most difficult times. When the dog died of old age, the farmer was very sad. Late one evening, sitting by the hearth and thinking about life, he felt a slight draft, as if someone had passed by. A moment later, he heard the familiar sound of claws on the floor. Turning around, he saw the silhouette of his pet Grumps glowing with a faint bluish light. The ghost of the dog quietly approached the owner, licked his hand, and then disappeared. After that, Jefferson claimed that Grumps came to him every night for a week, until the farmer felt relieved and accepted his loss. It is believed that the dog's soul returned to comfort its owner. Such stories often emphasize the special bond between humans and their animals. They reflect the belief that love and devotion go far beyond earthly life. It is especially interesting that, according to the Institute of Reincarnation, the body of a beast does not always contain the soul of an animal. In other words, there may be a human soul under its shell. This possibility was mentioned by Hippocrates. The reasons for such a move may be different. To learn new qualities, gain experience, get information about the world around you, or stay close to loved ones who had to leave. Some people have actually found themselves in situations where, after the death of a loved one, an animal with similar habits and character appeared in the house. So it's getting harder and harder not to believe in the transmigration of souls. There are stories about how a young man once lived, known for his devotion to his family. When his mother fell ill and died, he grieved deeply and often prayed that her soul would return to him, at least in a different form. A few months later, a white swallow appeared in his house, which began to behave very unusually. Every day she flew to the window of his room, sat next to him, and seemed to be listening to his speeches. Then, the young man realized that it was his mother's soul that had reincarnated into a swallow in order to comfort him and continue to be with him. After that, he took care of the bird as his own mother, and the swallow lived next to him until it flew away. The connection between man and animal goes beyond mere materialistic perception. It is based on love, devotion, and deep mutual understanding, which continue to live even after death. Perhaps it is this connection that is the main proof that the soul of an animal does not disappear, but passes into a new state where it continues to exist. There is also an opinion that a pet will end up in a special place after death, a paradise for dogs, cats, and other animals. He will be happy and happy there, and from there the deceased pet will be able to watch his master. Many people believe in the return of a pet. It can transform into another being and appear in a person's life at the most unexpected moment. You only have to look carefully into the eyes of a new animal to recognize it as a close friend. And some people also believe in the beautiful legend of the Rainbow Bridge. It is believed that at the very edge of the sky there is a so-called Rainbow Bridge on which deceased pets fall. There, the sick old pet becomes young and full of energy, continuing to run and frolic among his relatives. But sometimes the animal freezes and looks into the distance. His eyes begin to glow with joy and his body is shaking with impatience. This means that it will soon meet its beloved owner on the bridge, whom it will never part with now. Many people who love their pets often ask how to support the soul of an animal after death. In different cultures, there are rituals and traditions associated with sending animals to another world. For example, in the Christian tradition, one can pray for the repose of an animal, asking God to accept it into his light. In shamanism and esotericism, it is customary to thank an animal for the time you spent together and release its soul into another space. Also, Storing photos, things, and other memorabilia helps to maintain an astral and spiritual connection with the animal. Dear friends, thank you for watching my video to the end. If you liked it, please like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's very important. Thank you, and have a nice day.